Yeah, you are good to go now.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Henok, and thank you for attending the session. My research topic is analyzing education and equity access. Sorry, let me just the presenter. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. So this is the agendas that we're gonna be covering today, and the next one is gonna be introduction. This research holds a personal connection for me as my own experience in high school highlight the significant impact that the location, the resource of school can have on an individual education journey. It's what I have experienced to different high school. That's why I chose this research to kind of look into more like data based in different states and even within the city, counties, and 10-mile radius, like from the zip codes. So the complexity of the education disparities, their impact individual and communities as the urgent need for unbiased opportunities in education. Um, let's let's begin acknowledging the profound role in education plays as a equalizer. It is often seen as a pathway to individual success and its social mobility, sentimental deeply embedded in our social values. However, the persistent disparities in educational opportunities based on social economy stats, race, and more have created what is commonly known as the achievement gap, which is the gap reflects varying academic performance across demographic groups and unfortunately, they highlight the existence of education debt and accumulation of disadvantage hindering equal education opportunities. And the problem, so in this we're going to go on over the quality of education and social right that impact individuals, social economy, and overall well-being. Um, so, excuse me. This fact that the quality education is not just a privilege; it's an essential right. It significantly impacts individual social economy status and overall well-being. Fortunately, the gap in education equity and access persist in our community, leading to an equal opportunity for minority and underserved communities. For example, I went to high school in here in the state of Washington, Seattle. Based on different zip codes, the resources also that's allocated to the schools are different, and I've seen that by going changing my school. So uh, this motivation, um, our research aimed to reveal the complexity dynamic of educational equity and access, drawing on valuable insight from existing literature such as the work of the Denke Moore, which I enjoy reading doing the research. So what I did in there is that by analyzing the root cause of the educational disparities, uh, and then also exploring the policies and the practice and propose informed strategies by for promoting equity and access within the education system. So within each city, I mean, like within each counties, it can the policies or the resource that's allocated to each uh, it can be kind of look at the data and make sure every school, public school, or K to 12 getting the same resources. Uh, so this touching upon the background of the issue, we exploring the factors affecting educational equities and access, understanding the impact of education disparity, access, the current state of education equities access, discussing the prospect and the recommendation, including successful intervention and best practices. So that could be kind of looking at how many students are in classes. Like for example, in some schools there are 40 student per teacher. That's a lot. In some other school, there's where like 10 to 15 students. So that can have impact on on the student as well as on the teacher, because not having enough resources that can go around to help. Um, so the field emphasized that education was a mean of achieving equality, upward mobility, acknowledging the persistence of disparities rooted in the socioeconomy and the social factors, underscores the impact of teacher quality on student achievement. Additionally, it provides insight into policy application for addressing educational disparities. So that's earlier I was mentioning, like looking at the data, what shows that based on the amount of students or like the teachers, then school can definitely affect the students' progress, their career in the future of going to college, or getting like a good GPA, or working toward their growth. So what I would see is that to the involving extreme, after looking at the review, the data's, the references that I read through, data analysis, understanding the root causes, essentially the policies and practices proposing actionable recommendation, maintaining holistic perspective that prioritize inclusive and equal opportunities for all students. Um, in terms of the data, so there's a lot of data sets out there. It's overwhelming. So I was able to look at different data, trying to create some visual that I will show you guys momentarily. Uh, we focus on academic achievement data, demographic information, policies, and legislation analysis, access to resources. The data analysis revealed the stark disparities between the affluent and unprivileged students, emphasizing the need for dismantling the barrier for equal opportunities in education for students from diverse background. So when we analyzing the data, so to close the bridge, so to bridge these gaps range from early child education, intuitive to tailored support programs to disadvantaged students. Is crucial to recognize and create a more equitable, accessible education system. Shared responsibility requiring insight into root cause that lays in the foundation of targeted intervention and policy reforms. In our finding, we underscore like the winding gap between wealth and the underprivileged student. We specifically emphasize on the academic achievement gap. We establish clear connection between academic gap and the socioeconomic racial disparities, reinforcing urgent need for intervention. For example, what I noticed that if you go to Bellevue and if you go to Seattle, some high school, middle school, you see, you can go online, look at their rating. Since most of Seattle schools are middle school, elementary school, high school, they're around 6%, 4 or less. It's not where Bellevue is like 8, for same being the best. So like they're 8 and 9. So you can, making your conclusion from there. Next. The holistic and informed approach incorporation data and scholar research is essentially for dismantling systemic barriers. The urgency of addressing multi-factor challenge for true educational quality cannot be overstated. Looking ahead, future work involves the implementation of impact evaluations for intervention and policy change. We must also address cognitive inequalities during different academic period on exploring technology roles, bridging educational disparities, educational disparities, the disparities. Is there any questions you guys might have for me before I go to the demo?
Yeah, please go ahead with the demo. In the last, I can ask if I have any questions.
Sure. Just me. So, so this is what, for example, you can look at this map. So what I did is I created across the, sorry, let me just close this off so you can see. Let me see if you can see let me lower this a little bit. Okay, so this is like within the state. So you can see what it does is like, so I have it on the top, calculated by dividing the current expenditure for the entire academic year from pre-kindergarten through the grade 12. So by clicking on each map, you can actually look at like, is the average the sum per student. Come on. Okay, so here you go. So state of Washington for the year 2023. So I create the slicer. You can actually like slice it. This data is only up to 2017. I wasn't able to find the latest data. It just kind of gives you comparing each state with the spending, how much they spend per year. So this is what it looks like. I have more to it. So as we go here, so here's the, so what this stands for, the IPR, whatever, I have them breaking down here. So the IPR state income to poverty ratio estimate. Just give me a second. So here, what this goes over is the estimate that reflect the income to poverty ratio, which is the percentage of family income that above or below the federal poverty through threshold. So this, so it says for the family size and the structure, the EPIR indicate the range from 0 to 99. So what you could do, so here I wasn't able to. There's way more I can kind of drill down to other. You can drill down to like more specifics. So the data is just large. I need Azure database to kind of like dice it more and create like some other. But I wasn't able to because But this is what it looks like and drill through. So this here, what? So So this shows like overall comparing people like our education versus other countries and our how well we are. So if you go to the detail page, what it does here is if you go in the detail page for Brazil, it tells you that the literacy rate adult total above age 15. So it tells you that, and this is like upper middle class. If we go directly here, let me just show you detail page. Come on. Let me see if I have. Okay, so here you go. So so what I did is that you can drill through it and look at and specifically from here. What this tells you is in this page right here, the glossary. Sorry, this one right here. So you can also drill through to detail page. So it just gives you where in each countries, like we can compare with the the U.S. Education system. This is what is providing kind of like looking at other countries. Okay, what are they doing and how in terms of like if you look at math and chemistry, physics, all the STEM programs. Like if you look at other country, they tend to do well than us. So here, let me show you share another thing else. Sorry, Lord. So this is like using ACGI. So this is like a real time. So this I can let me show this right here. So here you go. So this is what I was looking at. The spending. So you can see Lexpark, they're spending around $53,000, where US we're spending like this for let's see, this for the spending is for give me a second. Okay, so this is educational spending. So this is what it looks like compared to other countries. So if you, I had a chance where I actually visited Sweden. So their school system, like it's really they K to 12, where compared to the US, they're pretty good, and they focus also on the math, where like they also have where any child should not be left behind. So let's just say if you have a student in class that not doing well, they kind of pause it. Also, it might be not good for other student in class. They kind of pause it until the other students catch up. So this kind of just shows like spending per student over the course of for 2022 to 2020. So you can look at the slides here and see what the spendings are for each countries. And we don't need this one. Okay, so this is based on the same thing as what I showed you guys earlier. This right here. So this the same thing, but more of like you can ask questions. Like if you want to know what the spending is per student, or like look at the teachers for the teachers as well by looking at this graphs. You can select the states, and then you can you just manipulate the data however you want. And then here is the same thing. What I just showed you earlier. You can just right click on anything, and you can look at uh, any of detail. So like it kind of gives you, if there's some, I don't have more data, but this is actually helpful if you want to look at a zip code, as I was showing you in my PowerPoint. If you want to look at like, I wasn't able to generate more data in here. So like we can create zip code, counties, a hierarchy level. So state, a city, or in a county, and then zip codes, we can look at, okay, how much the teachers are earning and how much the teachers are student they have in their classes. So this is what we use this for. So, but this only returns few data. Okay, I wasn't able to ingest that in. So this, okay, so this, I like this one. What it does is like you pick the year, and this gives us like education over the course of so for this the early child. So this, if you can see, like if you look at this graph, we don't have any budget in the United States for what starting primary school. We start having, we have our budget is around compared to other countries is $71,000. This average cost, and then primary not. So we don't have the any budget that I looked it up. We don't have any budget for early child education. And all this country, as you see, where they're actually doing pretty well in other subjects. They have from early child, they have this they have money allocated to their education where they can actually like focus, because that is really important for student from the young age to develop their skills. But in the United States, we don't have that allocation. So this is what I'm just pretty much comparing here. So yeah. So this is the primary, not territory. This is the territory. This is the territory right here. This is the college cost. But this is where my focus is in here. This two. And yep. So this here is also what it highlights. Like you can pick the country, which is the U.S. or any other country. You look at, okay, the income level. So I created a measure here for the income DAX measure. So what it does is it just calculate. You can just click on each, and what it does is you can look at specifics, upper middle income, and you can look at what the UN, the World Organization, what they're suggesting. So this is what this gives you on a level. Detail. So this is just a detail page. Let's just say if I publish it to Power BI, what it does is like you won't be able to see this page unless you've drilled through from this. You can just click here and drill through to the detail page, and then you'll be able to see this. The glossary just tells you, what it is. This is more like a define. If you want to go back and look at what this page here, so it just gives you like the definition of what this are. This are. So that's all I have. This is not complete, but I'm still working through it. It's really interesting and I like it. But yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, interesting visualization presentation by you. Um, I'm curious to know about the technical aspects of the project. Like you have used Power BI What is the basic data source for this data processing?
So for the data processing, so like one thing I think I shared with my professor I think last week or week before, is
Mhm,
that using Azure Data Factory, or like ingesting into that and then creating like a pipeline where you can more uh how does it you can more create a processes like this data is not is good data, but it's not really how I want it, because if I create the Azure database, it costs me more money. That's why I just kind of just clean this, or using I have a on the Visual Studio SSIS package. So
mhm,
I just use that to kind of push that into my local SQL server. So I have local
mhm.
SQL server, and I just create a temp table, and then I just ingest it in there, and that's pretty much.
Yeah, that's great work. You have used SQL Server integration service, and
Mhm.
with the SSAS package, you have processed the data and load the data into
SQL server.
visualization. Yeah, and this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
got.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, good work.
I have a question.
sure.
W- can you, what the data that you have, do you have some information about how good the education system is for each country, in comparison to the cost that's putting into the education?
The what, can you repeat that for me one more time? Sorry.
So how is there like a ranking of how good the education system is, in comparison to the cost that is put into the educational system for
So
each other country?
yeah, so this kind of like this is let me see so I do have a few of them. So like like this kind of gives you of for that, like you say, like this you're asking the spending, right? So let's just say if the countries how much they're spending and how good their education is, right?
Mhm.
So for
Yes.
that, this gonna highlight this for for example, like for Luxembourg. This is a really small country, but
Mhm.
their education is really good. And then this
Um,
countries that you see, top countries here, is like is this Israel right here. So like Israel well known for like science, also especially like cybersecurity right now, and also other aspect of like STEM programs. And Norway, Luxembourg, Sweden as well, Denmark, and then Finland. So all these countries here, their spending is
oh.
they actually investing at early child education well. So as
Mhm.
those kids are growing up, their education, it's they don't have to catch up or anything. It's just they built them up. They're being built from the start.
Ah,
Where if you it's so you as you can see on this, we don't have any allocation within the United States toward like
yeah.
early child education. I didn't find any data out there. It might exist, but I haven't found it. But this is what exists so far. What I found, and we start at primary. So primary, this is what it looks like. It's still it's pretty
Mhm.
good. It's good, but it's not as we want it, because we spending really that's a lot. But if we compare, for example, here, uh, Denmark, Australia, Sweden, Korea, and yeah, so like Great Britain. So like it's not it's the our public school is not I guess you can argue, but this is the top where the schools are really well here.
This is very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, great presentation and great work on your project.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But I like this one, right? What is this one? Is so not this one. Sorry, just so this is like CG. They call it. We call this that. Shoot, the RCGS map. So what it does is like on a real time, you can actually ingest it more. Like let's just say if I have, I can create like live data with based on the location, you can like dice it down. Like okay, as I was mentioning, like cost of like the student, location, or you can add it in here. You can more navigate, but they also consider this as like security risk because it's a live, map. They don't, but it's, I like this, I'm trying to develop this more. I also enjoy it because it's just the visual is much better than the older map. So this is what I'm working on right now to enhance it more, this report.
That'll be great if you can enhance it. And do you have any plans on making it available for other people to use and visualize?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah, probably. If the thing is, it's just I have to set as a process. That's where the cost is gonna come in. And but if I set up locally, and then if I'm just manually updating this data, it's there wouldn't be any cost. But if I'm publishing this out there, I have to constantly just update it, and I don't, so that yeah, yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lakshmi, Patty, would you want to?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. That was great presentation and work by and
Thank you.
Sion, the other two students, I think they have sent the recording.
Yes, and I will be sharing it right now. So I'll go first with Christians. Okay. Share my screen first. Just one moment. Can you hear?
Project. My name is Christian Morris. I have been studying applied computing here at City University.
Yeah, I'm
My
able to
project
hear.
will be about creating a computer store business. I specifically want to have this business in downtown Seattle as I feel like there is a lack of computer stores downtown. So let's start the presentation off with the agenda. For this presentation, we'll start off with a problem statement. And once we move forward, we will start with the motivation behind the project, and then I'll go ahead and give us a brief background on the project. Once the background is out of the way, we will start working on the related work and some studies, and then I'll get to the approach that I took to complete the project. I will also show the design and implementation of the project, as well as the way that data was collected and the data analysis. It also includes a findings section so that we can review all of the work that we've studied, as well as a conclusion so that we can wrap up and summarize everything that we learned throughout the project. I will also include future work for things that I would like to include later on in the project and have a Q&A for everyone to ask questions. Problem statement. I believe that downtown Seattle is in major need of a reliable computer repair and services as well as online resources for people to use. This is a major tech city, and I'm really seeing a lack of computer stores or anywhere to really get repaired within the downtown area. So the goal for our project is to establish a successful computer store with a responsive website. Uh, I will offer high quality services and informative website in order to meet digital needs of users, businesses, and just all around people in the community that need help with computers. I've noticed that downtown Seattle has a lack of computer services and anywhere to really recycle or get your or buy parts and or just buy pre-owned computers. So I felt like this would be a great project idea. This would also encompass everything that I've learned within my degree program, from being able to build a computer to troubleshooting, as well as being able to create my own responsive website. I'm looking to deliver excellent repair service at this company, and I would also like to prioritize environmental sustainability. Here we are at the related work section. I did have to do quite a bit of research into a lot of the different aspects of this project because I wanted to do a lot for this computer store. A lot of the findings that I did research show significance of extending electronic product life, life cycles for reduced resource consumption, environmental impact. This will also have a major impact on the budget for the business as it can save money for a business. In my literature review, it talks about refurbishing electronics, gathering and analyzing customer feedback, and ensuring supplier quality. I do think analyzing customer feedback will help a lot with the business side of the project. These efforts align with sustainability goals, which is a main concern of this project, and tackling e-waste challenges and promote responsible consumer behavior. A lot of the research also went into trying to get licensing for this. You do need to have a special license to be able to recycle equipment, as well as the business license needed to have the business. Start the approach talking about user requirements. There's a lot of things that I had to think about in regards to the users and people that are interested into the store. So I needed to conduct thorough market research and collect user feedback to identify specific needs and preferences, because we need to take into account the UX and UI principles in order to make sure everything is seamless and the user experience is great for anybody looking to use the website. I also needed to gain insights into customer expectation, pain points, and service requirements to inform our project. I'm going to get into the design aspect of the approach. I really wanted to focus on our digital presence design, especially in regards to the user experience principles that we need to put together. From all the knowledge that I've gained from City University, I know that with UX, the most important thing is that when a new user wants to use a website, it needs to be very easy for new and reoccurring users to be able to use. So that means anyone should be able to navigate through the website and understand what's going on. I want to also create a welcoming environment with eco-friendly elements so that they can feel good about using the store. And I would like to develop an informative, user-friendly website with self-help resources. So to get into the implementation aspect of the project, I would like to focus on ensuring a seamless customer experience across digital platforms. So like I've said in the beginning, I really want to focus on the UX and UI principles in order to make sure that the customer has a very nice experience using our website, and that way it can help boost our company. I would also like to implement technologies to enhance and repair services and customer interaction. So I definitely want them to know that they have the ability to get anything that they need repaired, as well as I want to be able to interact with my customers so I can find out what they want more of, or what I may or may not be doing wrong. For this part of the approach, I would like to discuss some of the technologies that I utilize for this project. So primarily I used Visual Studio Code for efficient coding and debugging. I primarily use this throughout my time here at CityU, so I've gotten very, very comfortable with it. I also use Scrum methodology, things such as sprints. I had them done every single week. And I also use associated tools like Jira for project management just to ensure that I was meeting deadlines every week. I also used enterprise architecture tools for aligning IT strategies with business goals, and I also streamlined development, project management, and architecture for success. For the approach, I really wanted to focus on addressing the digital requirements for customers to make sure that it was seamless and very smooth for them to use. The approach really involved the integration of modern technologies, such as the one listed earlier within the presentation. I also wanted to encompass diagnostic software and looking at e-commerce platforms for online resources. I also utilize CRM tools for feedback and quality management, ensuring the success. Data collection portion of this presentation, I really wanted to only use professional sources, such as sources coming from academia or sources from the government and all other kind of professional channels. I really wanted to focus on KPIs for the repair services to make sure that the performance was going to be good over time, as well as the website use and satisfaction. data analysis portion of this project, I wanted to look at the environmental sustainability aspect. So within the paper, we looked at a link between product life extension and eco-sustainability. We also looked at the commitment to reduce resource consumption, which is very important, and the contribution to a circular economy through electronic repairs. We also wanted to focus on a customer-centric approach by informed by RGB's customer feedback analysis. We ensured service quality and adaptability, and also dedication to continuous improvement. So to continue the data analysis, we looked at supplier quality management. Um, as a reference, ASQ's insights guide robust supplier relationships, all as well as a commitment to high quality electronic repair services. We looked at digital marketing and outreach. Science Direct insights emphasize strategic digital marketing, which is paramount to the success of the company, and also in alignment with trends for cost reduction and increased sales. We also looked at refurbishment and a circular economy. Our studies insights highlight environmental refurbishment. It's very important to the company, and a proactive stance in addressing e-waste challenges. There are many challenges coming to e-waste because there's a lot of things that is very difficult to recycle, such as plastic. So for this portion of the presentation, I'd like to discuss some of the findings that we had within the project. One of the findings was that recycling extends electronic product life cycles and reducing e-waste. We do this by reusing some of the older electronics. We also found that a customer-centric approach utilizing continuous feedback enhances service quality. We also found prioritizing digital marketing and outreach strategies proves effective in reaching customers. And refurbishment conserves resources in line with our mission to reduce environmental strain, again, by reusing older electronics. To wrap up the presentation, let's do a brief summary on what we were talking about. So we talked about some of our findings and the significance of extending electronic life and to reduce resource consumption to better the environmental impact. This is very important to this project as I really wanted to incorporate recycling because I think it's something that we should really be doing more of. I see a lot of people not recycling things, especially electronics. I see a lot of people throwing away a lot of their things like cell phones, or with computers, they throw away things that really could just be reused. I also wanted to prioritize refurbishment, customer feedback analysis, because I think that's going to be very important with the business side of the project, and supplier quality and exceptional support are pivotal to our project success. This aligns with sustainability goals. This addresses e-waste challenges and promotes responsible customer behavior in a circular economy. So now I'd like to talk about the future work. Some things that maybe I wanted to add previously, but I didn't have time, or some things that I couldn't implement to the fullest. But our goals are to improve through customer feedback, and utilizing some of the tools such as the CRM tools, website and digital marketing expansion, enhanced security. Security was something that I wasn't able to get a lot of research on because I was focused on things like the UX and UI design principles. I was focused on gaining customer feedback. So I really didn't have a lot of time to focus on security, and which is something that I'd really like to add in the future. And I'd also like to add community engagements with organizations such as GSBA and the GSCC. Environmental responsibility guided by waste management remains the most important to this project. This was the key idea when I was coming up for this project. And our commitment to excellence, sustainability, and customer centricity will help us grow as a company. Here we are at the Q&A section of the presentation, but I understand I'm not here. Other than that, if you guys would like to send me a Teams message regarding the project, you can also send me an email talking about it. You can ask me any questions that you like. Just feel free to reach out and send me a message.
Okay, and Christian also has a demo. So let me open up his demo.
Okay, guys, now I'd like to get to the demo of the project. Okay, so to start off, within the navigation bar, I wanted to include a little icon or a logo for the company just to give it a more professional look to it. Also within the nav bar, I wanted to add an anchor for the contact information so that a user could get in contact with personnel of the company. And I also added uh, a little toggle button to allow people to switch between a light and dark mode just for some user experience, user interaction. And I also included a drop-down menu so that they could get to the recycling center. I wanted to give the company a name that kind of had something to do with Seattle. So I kind of gave the name Seabike Tech. Um, and I gave kind of a brief overview of what a little picture to kind of show what we're about. You know, we're trying to offer high-end systems as well as lower-end systems that could be budget options. Also, I wanted to show that we are recycling with our budget options, and we offer repair services. Scrolling down, we'll get into our higher end systems where customers can come buy some of our already built systems that would be considered higher end. Um, I wanted to include an on-click function that would allow them to cycle through photos of some of the um, systems so that they could see whether or not they like some of the build quality. I added a button so that they could go to the page where they could purchase these systems. I also have our budget options, which allows them to buy some of the older and recycled systems that are using the older parts that are not only affordable but are helping the environment by recycling. We also have computer parts to either upgrade or build your own system, which I think is very important as well for recycling. And then we also have great repair options and recycling center that the users can come and visit so that they can either have their computer serviced, or they can have computer or computer parts serviced, or that they can look into the recycling of their older electronics that they no longer have use for.
Okay, that's Christian's presentation. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to Christian Morris by email or by Teams. And next, Lakshmi Pathy, should I move on to Kimberly's presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I can put up the PowerPoint. Have the recording open.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimberly Allen, and for this symposium, I will be going over my project based on implementing role-based access control. So for the problem statement for this project was to discuss how implementing high-level role-based access control, in this instance for a non-existing hypothetical healthcare company that currently has no access control set up for their systems, how implementing role-based access control at even just the highest of levels would better protect the company from security risks, from anything from things such as conflict of interest, employees having way too much or too high level of access to systems, and a lot more, which we will go over in the next few slides. Next slide, please. So the motivation for this project was to talk about things such as the cost effectiveness, of role-based access control and how it can actually save a company money in the long run, whether that's through disaster recovery or things that even as trivial as licensing for certain applications. Some applications require you to purchase licenses per user, and if you have everyone in the company having an access to this application that they don't actually need, you're spending way more money on licenses and that sort of thing. Least privilege, obviously you don't want someone who should only have bare minimum access to certain applications and software, hardware, and that sort of thing, having access to high level company data and having administrative rights to things to go in and change things, that can cause a lot of headaches as well. Obviously security concerns, again, users having access to things that they shouldn't, being able to poke around in things, or if they have, let's say, administrative level access, they could go around clicking buttons that they're not supposed to, and therefore could break systems, they could break it, they could cost the company more money that way, or that sort of thing. Data breaches is a big one. We're going to talk about that a lot more here over the next few slides as well. And things like audit requirements. There are modern day audit standards that companies have to meet in order to pass audit, and that way they don't get a red flag on their audit screenings. Next slide. A little bit of background. In the modern world, security is a high priority across the board, but I think specifically with healthcare, as there are a lot of moving parts that are involved in the healthcare industry, whether that's customer and patient data, there's personal information of employees, there's financial records and that sort of thing. So security is a very high priority, especially for the healthcare world. And then such as things as, a physician's assistant doesn't require access to financial information for the company, and an accountant doesn't require access to patient healthcare records. So having something implemented as far as access control, in this case, a role-based access control, would greatly reduce the ability for, again, users to have access to things that they shouldn't in this instance. Next slide, please. For related work, again, data breaches, ease of access, framework, security profiles. In this case, we're going to touch a little bit on that, as well as knowledge management systems. Next slide. So for this approach to this project, we were looking at, implementing role-based access control frameworks, company-wide IT inventory of all software, hardware, and applications. This is extremely important because you want to know, again, how many licenses are you going to need for certain applications? How many servers are you running? How many actual applications do you have, and what access would each person need in those applications for the role that they have? You can use an identity access management system to manage this access. A lot of places will have, for smaller companies, it could just be one or two individuals that are designated as identity access management administrators. Some companies have whole entire teams that are just dedicated to identity access management. In this instance, we would customize the role-based access to best fit the company's needs. We define the framework for group role inheritance. Test before implementing anything in the production environment. Always want to test, and verify before you send it off into the real world. And obviously explore new technologies. Times are always changing. You always want to keep up to date with everything as it advances. Next slide, please. So the top 5 largest data breaches over the last 9 years were a result of hacking or IT incidents. In this case, looking at Anthem Incorporated in 2015, they affected 78,800,000 individuals based off of a hacking and IT incident. And what can happen is, in the event of, say, a bad actor attempting to log in to your company off of credentials that they have managed to find, or if they've managed to hack into someone's account, if that user has way too much access or too high of access to certain applications or information, a hacker could easily get into those accounts, log into everything that they possibly can, and just steal as much data as possible. So it is always in your best interest to try and keep it to where you only have access to what it is that you need to perform your job functions and not much more. Next slide, please. Since 2009, there has been an uptick in data breaches in the healthcare environment. 2015 particularly had a very high spike in data breaches and people's information being stolen. And if you notice, it drops down there for a little bit as everyone kind of scrambled to see, to fix the problem, but then it just slowly kept rising back up as, again, bad actors find new ways to get into things. So technology is always evolving and we always have to try and stay on top of that. Next slide, please. So looking at the data that was polled, is, it's noted that the top breaches are a result of hacking and IT incidents. Bad actors and internal threats could have free reign of company and customer data if no access controls are in place, which could result in obviously a costly data recovery, cleanup, reputation, processes, the amount of time that you would have to pay people to come in and help you resolve all of these problems, as well as implementing new security policies and new procedures and that sort of thing, having to train all of your employees on all of the new processes and such. That can add up to a lot of financial burden in the long run. Next slide, please. So in the findings for this project, it's noted that obviously role-based access control is a good starting point in implementing access security measures, again, to try and limit the access that users have to only being what is needed to complete their everyday job functions. It should not be obviously the only security method that you have, even if it is to control access. There are a variety of access controls, but role-based access control is a good place to start. It is cost-effective when used and implemented properly. Again, it does help limit the access that users have. So whether it is an outside threat or even an internal user error, that could, easily be prevented if they don't have access to things that they shouldn't. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, healthcare companies are at high risk for data breaches. They have a lot of information, a lot of moving parts, and they are constantly being upgraded and modified and everything to work with a more technologically advancing world. And so they have to keep on top of security as well. Role-based access control is a good step in protecting data. It obviously shouldn't be the only prevention in place, but it is a good starting point. There are a variety of access controls that can be implemented to best protect information, and that can work well together depending on the company's needs. And this can save a company money on disaster recovery as breaches are less common, and it'll help save them in the long run from things, again, such as reputation, training, more disaster recovery, and such. Next slide, please. For future work, that really just kind of depends on where technology goes. There are things that are obviously moving forward with things like ChatGPT, more artificial intelligence. We have automation steps that are moving and advancing, and future options that we don't know are even available yet, just as technology evolves. Next slide, please. So for my demo, I wanted to give 2 examples of what a role-based access control model could look like in the form of a security profile for 2 separate users working in a healthcare related environment. In this case, for example 1, I used for a customer service representative, someone who might need access to applications that involve accessing customer information, medical records, and that sort of thing. And so in this instance, you have a profile name. I decided to call like medical for short, customer service representative, something that's easy to understand, easy to maintain. There would be a profile owner. In this case, you could have the manager of the team that is working with the customer service representatives. They can own the profile, so they can go in and approve what access the profile should have on it. They should know what their team is using and utilizing and what access they should require for those roles. So that would be the best person to talk to as far as what should be on the profile. If you have an IAM admin, whether it's a team or even just an individual or two, I would recommend putting on a liaison for that, so that way the IM or equivalent IT representative can work with the profile owner and review any changes that need to happen, whether that's be through the audit process, or we suggest usually doing at least a yearly review just to keep and make sure everything is accurate and up to date. Then there would be like the access granted. This could be their Microsoft O365 license in order for them to have, an email account and having their Active Directory account so they can log into their machines. In this case, we used, say, medical application accounts with customer service specific roles only. If you have applications that allow you to multiple forms of access, in this case, either customer service, administrator, maybe just read only, that sort of thing, you could specify that they need to have the customer service role in that application. And you could go through each and every application and enlist it into the profile. So that way, when it gets set up, they know exactly what to give that person per their role. There could also be Active Directory groups that provide defined access to necessary applications, file shares, SharePoints, etc., dependent obviously on what the company uses and what it needs. And then obviously security profiles should be reviewed at least annually with the profile owner to keep access up to date. For example 2, I used the same concept, but for a IM administrator, say level 1. Again, the team manager, whoever manages the IM team or individuals, you would still want an IM liaison to work with that owner to, again, keep that profile up to date. It could still be the same thing you could still have Microsoft O365 licenses, having an Active Directory account, but in this case for the applications, you would want like a security administrator level to software applications that provide an ability to add, update, remove internal users and assign access, but no ability to process customer or access customer data. So they shouldn't be able to see anything that is related to the customers themselves. And then you could also discuss things like privileged access accounts, depending again on what is needed for your company and what would best suit the company's needs. All right, next slide. It's obviously key references that I used in defining this project. And thank you. Final slide, Q&A. If you have any questions, I guess let me know. I really appreciate your time and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions, please email or MS Teams chat Kimberly Allen. Thank you, Henok and Kimberly, as well as Christian, for all your hard work. I'm very impressed by all your capstone projects. And thank you, Lakshmi Pathy, for leading the session today.
Yeah, thank you, Sion. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.